my dear students, welcome back to your favorite channel NEET World. This is Vasavi Ma'am, your biology educator. Yes, a very good evening to all of you my dear students. In the previous session, we have discussed about the different types of respiratory organs in different living organisms, right my dear students? We have understood the mechanism of each and every type of respiratory organ, okay. So, when it comes to the lowest level of organization of the animals like euglena and some protozoans, we have understood how the exchange of gases is going to take place with the help of the skin, right. And next one, when it comes to the fishes, we have understood the mechanism how actually the gills are going to work for the exchange of the gases, okay. And next we have also understood about the book lungs, book gills and buccopharyngeal cavity and buccopharyngeal type of respiration in the frogs, right. So, these all the things we have done in the previous live sessions. Yes, you can easily click on the live sessions in our YouTube channel NEET World, okay, to get all the concepts clear. Yes. So, coming towards the today's particular live session, yes. So, today in this session I am going to explain you about the human respiratory system, okay. So, we are going to learn about the sequence of the organs in human respiratory system, right. Yes. So, this all the yes. So, each and everything whatever we are discussing, these are from the breathing and exchange of gases, okay. It is of your second chapter of second year zoology, yes. So, under the first unit, right my dear students, yes. So, coming towards the human respiratory system, okay. So, what actually we are going to learn in the human respiratory system, yes. So, all the online students, yes, you need to listen the session extreme, yes, with an extreme patience, because after these particular session later, okay, in the next session we are going to start about the mechanism of breathing, okay. We are going to learn about the mechanism of the exchange of gases, okay. But now we have left with the few more interesting topics, okay. We need to learn in depth regarding the human respiratory system, okay. Yes. So, let us start the session now. Yes students, so what actually we are going to learn in this particular human respiratory system in the sense, yes. So, we are going to understand about the different types of organs, okay. We are going to understand how the respiratory pathway is going to be present and which are the organs involved, okay, from the starting to the ending point, okay. Yes. So, we will understand about the pharynx, yes. So, first we will understand about the nasal cavity, yes, nasal cavity or nasal chambers, okay, yes. And next we will understand about pharynx and larynx, yes my dear students. So, whatever I am going to write here, we are going to learn in the same order. So, these are the types of the organs, okay, types of organs, few important parts which are involved in the yes, which are involved in the respiratory system in human beings, okay. Larynx, and then next we are going to learn about the trachea and next bronchi, yes, trachea, and next one bronchi, bronchioles, okay, and next one lungs and alveoli, okay. So, these all the things we are going to cover in the today's session my dear students. So, all of you, the session may run up to 1.5 hours, okay. So, please just stay tuned with an extreme patience, because these all the topics are most important. So, definitely you are going to get the questions in the NEET as well as in the IPE regarding the breathing and exchange of gases, okay. So, we cannot expect from which concept the question is going to be framed, but definitely you are going to get the 4-marker type and 2-marker type of questions for the IPE. But when it comes to the NEET point of view, each and everything is important my dear students, yes. So, let us start, yes, okay. So, human respiratory system, okay, the human respiratory system is divided into the two components my dear students, okay. So, one is respiratory tract, okay. So, it is divided into the respiratory tract, and the next one will be the exchange zone, okay. So, the respiratory tract, it is also called as conducting zone. What my dear students, it is also called as the conducting zone. It actually starts from the nostrils and it continues up to the lungs. Okay. So, what happens in the conducting zone in the sense, just have a look on this. Yes, so just have a look on these particular visual. So, what is happening here my dear students? Okay, he is inhaling the oxygen, right. So, he is inhaling the oxygen and next, okay. So, during these inhalation process, the oxygen is going to be filled inside the lungs, okay, right. So, during this process, pharynx and trachea, bronchi and bronchioles, all these parts are involved, okay. So, each and every part starting from the nostrils, okay, starting from the nostrils to the lungs, this complete tract, okay, this complete pathway which is involved, that is called as what my dear students? It is called as the conducting zone. Yes, clear? What is conducting zone my dear students? It is going to start from the nostrils and ends, okay. It is usually starts from the nostrils and continues up to the lungs, okay. So, conducting zone in the sense, it is going to conduct, okay, it is going to in this particular process we are going to inhale the oxygen, okay, we are going to inhale the oxygen and this is a major site, okay. So, this from the nostrils to the lungs, it is a major site for the conduction of the, yes, for the conduction of inhalation and the exhalation, okay. But when it comes to the exchange zone, okay, so when it comes to the exchange zone, lungs are involved my dear students, okay. So, yes, so when it comes to the conducting zone, it is usually starts from the nostrils, okay, from the nostrils, pharynx, trachea and the next one bronchi and bronchioles, okay. So, in all these parts, okay, during inhalation each and every part is involved, right. So, we are conducting the respiration and next one, the exchange zone is going to takes place, okay. In the exchange zone, what is involved my dear students? Lungs, clear. So, this is about the respiratory system which is divided into two components. One is conducting zone where we are going to inhale the oxygen and next one, after the inhalation process, the next step is going to be the exchange, okay, right. If we are inhaling the oxygen, definitely we need to exhale the carbon dioxide also, okay. So, that usually takes place at the site of the lungs. It is called as exchange zone and it is called as the conducting zone, right. Yes. So, now we will understand about the series of parts, okay. We are going to learn about the each and every respiratory part, okay, which is involved in the respiratory system, okay. So, these all are the important organs which are involved in the respiratory system of the human beings, right my dear students. So, each and everything is important, just focus please whatever I am explaining here. Yes. So, first understand about the nose and nasal chambers. So, what are these actually? See here in the respiratory path, okay, usually the respiration process, like, okay, usually the breathing process is actually going to start from the nose, right. So, it is going to start from the nose and the cavity present inside the nose, okay, the cavity of the nose is called as what my dear students? Nasal cavity, okay, the cavity of the nose is called as the nasal cavity. Yes, I am going to show you the visuals also. First let us understand it, okay. So, yes, usually the breathing is going to start from the external nostrils, right, and the cavity present inside the nose is called as the nasal cavity, okay. But please focus here, humans has dirhinous condition, okay. What it actually means, okay, dirhinous condition in the sense we are going to contain two nares, okay. We have usually we all have the two nares, that is nothing but the external nares and the internal nares. Yes, to understand this concept clear, first have a look on this my dear students, okay. So, usually this is the nasal cavity, right. Yes, so usually it is the nasal cavity. So, the nasal cavity is the first part which is going to be involved in the breathing, okay, which is involved in inhalation of the oxygen and the next one exhalation, okay, exhalation of the carbon dioxide. This process usually exchange of gases is going to take place from the first part, that is called as the nasal cavity, and yes, first nose is involved and the cavity inside the nose is called as the nasal cavity, and we are saying that the humans, okay, humans are dirhinous condition, in the sense we have two nares my dear students, two nares in the sense one will be the external nare, okay, okay, one is external nare and yes, and here it is going to form the internal nares, okay, external nair and internal nairs. Okay, so what actually the external nair? Okay, so in the external nairs, with the help of the nose and nasal cavity, we are going to inhale the oxygen, and next that oxygen we are going to send to the pharynx. Okay, so from here the oxygen is going to travel, we are going to inhale the oxygen, and next we are going to fill and we are going to give and we are going to deposit that oxygen into the pharynx region. Okay, so usually two openings. Okay, right, my dear students. So this will be the one opening which is involved in the inhalation of the oxygen, and the next nair, that is internal nair. Okay, we have two nairs, one will be the external nair and this will be the internal nair. So the internal nair is usually involved in transporting the oxygen. Okay, so from here the oxygen is going to be transported to the pharynx. Clear, my dear students? Yes. So now, yes, so now look here, yes. So humans has dryness condition, one is external nair and the another one will be the internal nairs. Okay, so these two are the openings. One external nair is going to inhale. Okay, it is involved in the inhalation of the oxygen, and next one the external, yes, next internal nair is involved in transferring the inhaled oxygen to the pharynx, right. And next one, okay, the anterior small part of each nasal chamber is called as nasal vestibule. Okay, so this can you see, okay, this is called as the nasal vestibule, right. So both the nasal chambers now, okay, so the both the nasal chambers, okay, so we have usually two external nostrils, and two external nostrils are going to have the nasal chambers. Okay, two nasal chambers, and both of them, okay, both the nasal chambers are separated by a type of cartilage that is called as the hyaline cartilage, my dear students. Yes. So can you see here? Yes. So this will be the hyaline cartilage. Both the nasal chambers are separated from each other by the help of hyaline cartilage. Yes. So what is cartilage, my dear students? What is cartilage actually? So it is a type of soft skeletal tissue, right? Yes. So yes, I already have done the most important sessions regarding all the different types of tissues under the 9th CBSE recorded sessions. Okay, if you want to learn the more basics, just click on the sessions in our YouTube channel NEET World. Okay, if you want to understand more about the types of tissues. Yes. Okay, yes. So both the nasal chambers are separated by the hyaline cartilage, and nasal cavity is divided into two parts by the nasal septum. Okay, so this is the right nostril and left nostril. Okay, so both of them are called as, okay, both of them are separated by the nasal septum, and next one, both the nasal chambers are separated and both the nasal chambers are formed by the hyaline cartilage. Okay, so it is not that much complicated to understand, my dear students, it is very easy. So the nose and the nasal chambers are the first parts which are involved in the respiratory tract. Okay, so from here only the breathing process is going to start. Okay, right? Yes. So now let's have a look on this particular visual, then it becomes clear to all of you. Yes. Okay, so this will be the nose. Okay, so the nose is going to contain the cavity that is called as nasal cavity, right? Yes. So this will be the nasal cavity which leads into the which leads into the two nasal chambers. Both of them are formed and separated by the hyaline cartilage, and both the right nostril and the left nostrils are separated by nasal septum, right, my dear students. And next one, yes. So usually we have two nairs. Okay, we are dryness condition. We all human beings are called as dryness condition. Okay, why? In the sense we have the two openings, that is also called as two nairs. One is external nair and internal nair. External nair is usually involved in the, yes, it is usually involved in inhalation of the oxygen, and next one, the internal nair is located at this region. Yes. So the internal nair is involved in, yes, my dear students. So the internal nair is involved in transporting the oxygen, okay, to the pharynx region. Clear? Yes, this is about the nose and the nasal cavity, and the next one we are going to understand about the nasal chambers. Okay, so what are nasal chambers, what functions actually it is going to perform, and how many types it has been divided. Let's understand about this. Yes. So, these are the nasal chambers. Okay. So, the nasal chambers are, yes, it has 3 regions, my dear students. Okay. It usually has the 3 regions. So, the first region will be the vestibular region, and next one will be the respiratory region, and the next last region will be the olfactory region. Okay. So, to understand regarding this, first you need to understand this particular visual. Okay. So, let us have a look on this. So, students, the human physiology, the human anatomy and the physiology from your second year zoology syllabus, it is very most interesting to understand. So, all the thing that you need to do is you just need to focus on these physiology views to understand the concept in depth, my dear students. Yes. So, this is all about the, yes. So, this is all about the, yes, we will understand about the nasal chambers, my dear students. Okay. So, I am going to show you all the visuals. Just quickly take the screenshots for your better understanding. Okay. So, we cannot find all the things in your NCERT or Telugu Academy standard books. Yes. So, here we are providing the quality education. So, please just make a use of it, my dear students, and quickly take the screenshot of each and every particular slide. Yes. So, here this is about the nasal chambers. Okay. So, the nasal chambers is divided into how many parts, my dear students? 3 parts, right? So, one will be the vestibular region. Okay. Can you see here? Yes. So, this is the vestibular region, and the next region is called as respiratory region. Can you see? Yes. So, I am going to make a note here. Yes. So, the first region is the vestibular region, and the next region is respiratory region, and the third region in the nasal chambers is olfactory region. Clear, my dear students? Yes. Vestibular region, respiratory region and olfactory region. So, now let us understand what is a vestibular region and what its role in the respiratory tract actually. Okay. So, the vestibular region, can you see, this is called as vestibular region. Okay. So, the vestibular region is going to contain skin, mucus. Okay. So, it is usually made up of, yes, it is usually made up of skin, hairs, and it is continuously supplied, and it is continuously made up of the sebaceous glands are present abundant in number, my dear students. Okay. Yes. So, have a look here. Yes. So, the nasal chambers, okay, under the vestibular region, what we are going to find? Skin is present, hairs, and the next one, sebaceous glands. Clear? So, what is the major role of the presence of hair and sebaceous glands? Okay. So, it is usually involved in trapping all the dust particles. Okay. The sebaceous glands are going to release the mucus, and it is going to release a sticky substance which is involved in trapping all the dust particles. Okay. The hairs as well as the sebaceous glands which are going to release the mucus, both of them are involved in trapping the dust particles, right students? Yes. And next one, so due to this, okay, due to the presence of the vestibular region and due to the presence of sebaceous gland, no dust particles are going to enter inside our respiratory tract. Okay. So, this is a major role. And next one, coming towards the respiratory region. Okay. So, this is most important. So, where actually we are going to find the respiratory region. Okay. So, the middle region. Okay. So, the middle region is called as the respiratory region. Yes, students. So, I am going to make a note here. Yes, can you see? Yes. So, this middle region is called as respiratory region. Okay. Yes. So, the respiratory region is made up of, okay, it is made up of usually specialized epithelial tissues. Okay. So, it is made up of pseudo-stratified columnar ciliated epithelial cells. Okay. What it is made up of, my dear students? Each and everything is important. Okay. So, the respiratory region is mainly made up of pseudo-stratified columnar ciliated epithelial cells. Okay. So, for your better understanding, just have a look on here. Yes, pseudo-stratified. Yes, all the online students, if you want, if you want to understand the basic concepts regarding all the different types of tissues, just click on the recorded sessions in our YouTube channel NEET World. Okay. So, there completely I have explained regarding each and every type of tissues, my dear students. Okay. All the different types of tissues has been covered. Just click on the sessions. Yes. So, yes, it is made up of the pseudo-stratified epithelial cells. Okay, pseudo stratified in the sense it is made up of many number of the epithelial cells. Okay, so it is made up of many number of layers actually. Okay, yes. So not only it is just one layer, right students? So it is usually made up of pseudo stratified in the sense instead of presence of single or double layers, more layers are going to be present. Okay, so this is a pseudo stratified epithelium and ciliated. Okay, ciliated. Okay, I am going to draw the cilia here. Okay, it is going to be made up of yes, pseudo stratified in the sense presence of many layers of yes, columnar. Can you see the column like cells? Yes. So hence pseudo stratified columnar ciliated epithelial cells. Okay. So this is this complete respiratory region. Okay. So this complete middle respiratory region is made up of these particular type of tissue. Okay. And in between these particular pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelial cells, here we can find two different types of cells, my dear students. Okay. So there we can find two different types of cells. What are they, my dear students? We are going to find the mucous cells and the serous cells. Yes. So to draw the cells, I am going to choose the red color. Okay. So here we can find the mucous cells and serous cells. Right? Yes. Serous cells I am going to make it with the light green color. Yes. So clear with these, my dear students? So this is whatever I am explaining, it is about the respiratory region. Okay, vestibular region is nothing. Okay, it is very easy. It is made up of just sebaceous glands and hairs are going to be present, which will help in trapping all the dust particles, and they are going to prevent the entry into the inside our respiratory tract. Okay, and next the middle portion is called as respiratory region. It is actually made up of pseudo stratified columnar ciliated epithelial cells, which is going to contain two important cells, my dear students. Okay, one will be the mucous cells. Okay, mucous cells, and the other cells will be the serous cells. Okay, what are those, my dear students? Serous cells and the mucous cells. Okay, yes. So the serous cells, okay, the serous cells and the mucous cells are involved in the releasing of the slimy like structure. Okay, sometimes we usually, okay, during the cold, okay, during when we are going to be affected by the cold, we are going to see the substance, we are going to see the slimy nature of the substance. That slimy sticky substance is usually released due to the presence of these two types of cells, okay, mucous cells and the serous cells. Okay, so mucous cells will release the slimy substance, okay, and the serous cells sometimes it is going to release the liquid like content. Okay, so it is going to release the watery fluid, okay, from the nose. Okay, so these two cells are extremely important for the release of that slimy, mucus and watery type of substance. Okay, yes. So now look into these lines. Okay, middle region is lined by the respiratory epithelium. Okay, middle region in the sense the respiratory region is usually lined by what, my dear students? Ciliated pseudo stratified columnar epithelial cells. Okay, and next one, it contains mucous and serous cells. Done. And next, respiratory region acts as air conditioner. Okay, so what actually it means? Let's understand here. Okay, yes. So can you see the extensions? Okay, yes. So it is going to the main function of the respiratory region is it is going to humidify the air. Okay, it is going to humidify whatever the oxygen and whatever we are going to take. Okay, so it usually the main function of the respiratory region is it is going to cool down the gases. Okay, it cools the air during the respiration process. Okay, so regarding this I am going to explain you. First, next later we are going to understand about the olfactory region. Okay, what is the main role of the olfactory region, my dear students? Yes. So here, yes. So when it comes to the olfactory region, yes, here can you see this particular region? Okay, so this particular region is called as the olfactory region. Okay, so all the three regions we are studying under the nasal chambers. Okay, so first part will be the vestibular region, the next part will be the respiratory region, it is actually the middle region, and the last part will be the olfactory region. Okay, So the olfactory region is involved in sensing the smell, my dear students. Okay. So the main function of the olfactory region is, yes, have a look here, it is the upper region lined by the olfactory epithelium. Okay. Olfactory region is lined by olfactory epithelial cells, and these olfactory epithelium is usually called as cnidarian epithelium. Okay. Yes. So the CH and S are silent. So it is usually made up of the cnidarian epithelium. Its main function is to detect, okay, olfactory region is going to detect the odor of the smell. Okay. So sometimes we are going to find the a very good fragrance actually. Okay. And during some situations we usually receive the very odor smell. Okay. We are going to receive a very foul smell, right. So this presence, okay, this type of recognition, okay, so this type of detection whether we are going to receive and we are going to sense a very good smell or bad smell, that completely it is going to be performed by the olfactory region. Okay. So it is sensory in nature, my dear students. So due to the presence of the cnidarian epithelial cells, okay, due to the presence of these cnidarian epithelium and these olfactory epithelium, it is usually involved in detecting the odor of the smell, whether it is a good smell or whether it is a bad smell. So that we are going to know due to the presence of olfactory region. Yes, clear with this particular visual, my dear students? Yes. So clear with this? So this is all about the nasal chamber, okay, where we have understood about the vestibular region, which is just involved in trapping the dust particles, and respiratory region, which is involved in humidifying the air, okay, which is involved in which provides a cooling effect, okay, that we are going to learn now. So actually the respiratory region is made up of pseudo stratified columnar ciliated epithelial cells. Okay. And next, okay, next what we have understood, we have learned, okay, about the olfactory region. Done? Yes. So now we are going to understand about what are nasal conchae actually. Okay, what are nasal conchae? Yes. So if you look into this particular slide once again, so here, so in the respiratory region, in the middle region, okay, so just focus here, my dear students. Yes. So here we can see the extensions, okay, we can see the extensions of the bones, right. So here usually we are going to see the extensions of the bony structures, okay, actually these are called as conchae, okay, these are called as nasal conchae, okay. So what are nasal conchae actually? These are the elevations of the bones, okay, these are the elevations of the bones inside the nasal chamber, okay. So we can see, okay, we can easily know about the nose and about with the nostrils, but behind this which we can't see that particular region, okay, that completely it is called as respiratory region from here, okay. Usually we have the nostrils and the nose that we can easily see in the mirror, but behind that there is a process which is involved in cooling effect, which is going to provide the cooling effect. Yes, that is done by the respiratory region, okay. So in the respiratory region, what we are going to find, my dear students? Nasal conchae, okay. What are conchae actually? Conchae are the elevated bony depressions, okay. These are elevated bony structures which are present in the nasal chambers, okay. So usually three nasal chambers, three nasal conchaes are present. So this will be the, yes, can you see? Yes. So now that three nasal conchae are nothing but the elevated bony structures present inside the nasal chambers. Its main function is to provide the cooling effect, okay, during the breathing, okay. So if you are going to breathe a very hot air, if you are going to inhale a very hot air, then what happens, my dear students? Our lungs are going to be collapsed, okay, they are going to be injured, okay. So definitely we need to make the inhaled air very cool, okay, it should be very cool, okay. So that cooling effect is provided by the conchae, okay. How many conchaes we have actually see here? Yes. So inferior nasal conchae, and next one middle nasal conchae and superior nasal conchae, right. Inferior nasal conchae, middle nasal conchae and superior nasal conchae, okay. So to understand this in better, just have a look on this. Yes. Yes, my dear students, just have a look here. Okay, so if there is no bony depression, so if there is no concave in our respiratory tract, okay, if there is no concave in the nasal chambers, what happens in these two visuals? Okay, so whatever I have drawn here, this will be the first case and this will be the second case, right? So in the first case, the oxygen, okay, the oxygen is traveling directly, and the time taken by these oxygen to reach the lungs, it is very less, I think, my dear students. Okay, so it is very less, and we can easily transfer and we can easily pass these oxygen. But when it comes to the presence of these concaves, here the duration and the length of time is going to be increased. Okay, the time to take the oxygen inside our body, it is going to increase. Why? In the sense, it is here we cannot find any bony depressions, hence the oxygen directly it is going to be transferred, and next, due to the presence of the nasal concave, it has to take some time, right? So it usually increases the time to transport the oxygen to reach to the lungs. How? In the sense, just have a look here. Whenever we are going to inhale the oxygen, okay, yes, is it visible, my dear students? Yes. So whenever we are going to inhale the oxygen like this, okay, so first it has to travel, okay, it travels along with these elevated bony depressions, okay. So due to this presence of these nasal concaves, it is going to travel in between the concaves after traveling and after reaching all these three types of concaves, okay, inferior, middle and superior nasal concave, okay. Whenever the oxygen is going to travel in between all these three concaves, next the air whatever we are going to inhale and the oxygen whatever we are going to inhale, it is going to be cooled down, okay. So it cools and it humidifies, and next it is going to be transferred to the pharynx, okay. So this is the most important, my dear students, and this is a major role of the nasal concaves. Usually we have the inferior nasal concave which is present at the downwards, middle nasal concave which is present inside the respiratory region, and superior nasal concave also, okay. So all these three are the elevated bony depressions which will increase the time of the transferring the oxygen to reach to the lungs, okay. They are involved, okay, they are considered like the air conditioners, okay, they provide the cooling effect. Yes. So look here, yes. So what are nasal concave? So this is most important for the IPE point of view, my dear students. Yes. So what are nasal concave? Okay. Yes. Most important for IPE. Okay. Definitely you are going to get the question for 2 marks. Okay. For the 2 marker type of questions, you are going to get these particular type of questions. What are nasal concave? Okay. So the bones around the nasal passage, okay, around the nasal chambers, we can find the bony outgrowths that usually called as nasal concave. These outgrowths, okay, sometimes these are also called as turbinal bones, turbinates or concave, okay. Turbinal bones in the sense they are involved and they are going to act like the air conditioners, and they are going to provide the cooling effect to our lungs, okay. They provide the cooling effect to transfer the oxygen to reach the lungs, okay. Directly we cannot inhale the hot air, okay. So it has to be cooled down to reach the lungs. And next one, due to these outgrowths, the nasal passage is long and spiral, okay. So due to the presence of these nasal concaves only, it is sometimes, okay, not sometimes, it is usually, yes, the nasal passage is spiral and long, okay, due to the presence of the nasal concaves, okay. If the nasal concaves are not there, then our nose usually it is going to end here and directly the oxygen is going to be transferred, okay. But that is not a mechanism. We have to inhale the oxygen, next the oxygen is going to transfer, it is going to transfer to the respiratory region. There it has to undergo the humidification and it has to undergo the cooling effect, okay, with the help of the nasal concaves. And next one, it helps in regulation of temperature, that is what we have discussed, my dear students. Yes. Yes. So next coming towards the, yes, my dear students. So next coming towards the pharynx. What is pharynx actually? Okay. So the pharynx is the common passage for the food and air, okay. So the pharynx is the most common part for the transport, for the transfer of the food, or else for the passage of the food and for the passage of the air, okay. So it is usually a common part which is involved in passage of food as well as passage of the air. Okay, so now we are going to see how actually the pharynx has been divided and what is its major role in the respiration. Okay, yes. So look here. So students, whatever I am going to explain you, it seems to be easy. Okay, it seems to be easy, but it is somewhat tricky when we are going to get the questions regarding this particular human respiratory system, right. So all the online students, if you are going to get any doubt, okay, if you are feeling confused at any of the concept, please let me know in the comment section. Okay, so yes, pharynx is a short vertical tube about 12 centimeters. Okay, so it usually the length of the pharynx is, it is usually going to last. Okay, it is usually in the length about the 12 centimeters. So look into this particular statement. Okay, so students, this particular concept regarding the pharynx, okay, it seems to be confused and sometimes it seems to be easy, but when it comes to the competitive examinations, the questions from this particular concept related to the pharynx, okay, it seems to be very tricky. Okay, just focus, it is a very common passage for the food and air. Okay, so I am going to explain you during, okay, whenever we are going to eat the food, what happens, okay, what is the main role of the pharynx, this all I am going to explain you, my dear students. Yes, so before understanding this about the pharynx, just have a look on the these particular visual, my dear students. Yes, so have a look on this particular slide. Okay, so all these pictures, okay, all the slides whatever I am going to show you here, these particular pictures are not represented in your NCERT or Telugu Academy standard books. Just please take the screenshots wherever if necessary, my dear students. Okay, so the complete second year zoology syllabus, okay, so completely human anatomy and physiology is, it is just about understanding the mechanisms. Okay, so it is not about just buttifying or by hearting the answers. Okay, so all the thing is you need to understand the concept, and to understand the concept what you have to do in biology, you need to focus extremely on the diagrams, right. Yes, so this is about the pharynx. So now the pharynx has been divided. Okay, the pharynx has been divided into how many parts, my dear students? Usually 3 most important parts. Okay, yes. So the first one is called as nasopharynx. So I am going to explain you how nasopharynx is going to form, how oropharynx is going to form, and the third one is the laryngopharynx. Okay, laryngopharynx. Okay, nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. So now see here, so what is pharynx actually? Okay, so this long tube which extends up to the 12 centimeters, it is called as the pharynx. And next one, usually the pharynx has been divided into nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. Okay, yes. So whenever we are going to inhale the oxygen, okay, with the help of the nose, with the help of the nostrils, nasal chambers, okay, so usually the breathing process is going to start, and whenever we are going to inhale the oxygen, it usually travels from the nasal chambers, it reaches the respiratory region, and next the oxygen is going to transfer, and it reaches the pharynx region. Okay, next it is going to reach to the pharynx region. Okay, so the nasal cavity which opens into the pharynx, is called as what, my dear students? Nasopharynx. Okay, clear? Yes. So the nasal cavity which opens into the pharynx, it is called as nasopharynx. Okay, so usually we inhale the oxygen from here, and with the help of the nose, nostrils and nasal chambers, with the help of the nasal concave, all the air whatever we are going to breathe, it is going to be humidified, and next immediately it is going to reach where? It is going to reach to the nasopharynx. Okay, and next one, the oral cavity which opens into the pharynx, that is called as oropharynx. Okay, nasal cavity which opens into the pharynx is called as oropharynx. Sorry, nasal cavity which opens into the pharynx is called as nasopharynx. Oral cavity which opens into the pharynx is called as oropharynx. So pharynx is a completely, it is a long tube. Okay, not extremely long. It is a tube measuring about the 12 centimeters in length, and to these nasopharynx different cavities will open, okay, different cavities will open which will lead to the pharynx. Nasal cavity will open and it will leads into the nasopharynx, oral cavity opens and it leads to the oropharynx, and below this oropharynx, okay, yes, to this trachea, at the junction of the trachea we can find the larynx, okay, yes. So, the larynx is going to open into the laryngopharynx, right my dear students, clear with this particular visual and clear with these all the three different types of pharynx, yes. So, now have a look on this particular slide. So, pharynx is the common passage for the food and air, okay. So, it is usually the common passage for food and air, right. So, now see here. So, here can you see the esophagus? Yes. So, usually from the oral cavity, okay. So, here the red color one whatever I am drawing, it is the food, right. So, it is the food, and usually the food whatever we are going to eat from the oral cavity, it enters into the pharynx, it enters into the pharynx. Which pharynx? Oropharynx, okay. So, from the oral cavity the food enters into the oropharynx, okay. Next one, next coming towards the gas, next coming towards the oxygen whatever we are inhaling. So, from where we are going to take that oxygen my dear students, I am usually going to draw with the blue color, just focus here, yes. So, next one, from the nasal cavity we are going to inhale the oxygen, right. So, from here the oxygen is going to be travel, okay, and next it is going to enter into the trachea here, okay. So, we are going to inhale the oxygen, and next one, from where we are going to inhale? From the nasal cavity the breathing process is going to start, and next the oxygen reaches to the pharynx, the gas is going to be transferred and it is going to be released to the pharynx, that is called as nasopharynx. Can you see? So, here from the nasal cavity the oxygen is going to enter into the nasopharynx, and next it is going to enter into the trachea, okay. And from the oral cavity we are going to take the food, and next it is going to enter into the oropharynx, and next it is going to be passed from the esophagus. Can you observe here? So, the red colored one whatever I have drawn, these are the food particles, right. So, and both this, okay, both the oxygen which is entering into our body and the food whatever we are going to take, both are going to be passed, okay, both are passing from the pharynx itself, okay. The oxygen is passing from the nasopharynx, the food is passing from the oropharynx, okay. Oral cavity opens into the oropharynx, nasal cavity opens into the nasopharynx, okay. So, below this at the region of the trachea we can find the larynx, okay. I am going to explain you regarding the larynx also, but here usually the pharynx is the common passage for food and air, okay. I am going to show you a simple mechanism what happens during we are going to eat, okay, what happens actually when we are eating the food. Clear with the pharynx my dear students? Yes. So, clear with the pharynx? Yes. So, now we will understand, okay, now we will understand about this. So, look here, yes. So, this is the nasal cavity my dear students, okay, nasal cavity, nasopharynx, okay, this is the region of the nasopharynx, this is the region of the oropharynx and laryngopharynx, okay. So, here actually the food is going to start, okay, the food whatever we are going to eat, that is going to start from the oral cavity, it gets deposited into oropharynx, and from the esophagus it is going to be passed down, and from the nasal cavity the oxygen enters into nasopharynx and it is going to transfer into the trachea, right. Yes. So, once have a look on this particular slide, okay. Yes, nasopharynx is the only upper part of the respiratory in which the internal nares opens, right my dear students. So, this is what we have discussed, right. So, the external nares is going to be present which will just receive the oxygen, and the internal nares are the main parts, okay, internal nares are the main openings where actually the oxygen is going to be transferred and which is going to be sent, okay, oxygen is going to be sent to the pharynx, okay, from the internal nares. And next one, oropharynx is the middle part, right. So, that is called as the oral cavity which opens into the oropharynx, and next laryngopharynx is the lowest part which is involved in production of the sound. So, just before understanding have a look on this, yes. So have a look on this beautiful mechanism, and it is the most tricky mechanism I can say. So once again have a look on this, my dear students. Yes. So here, so whenever the food is going to enter, okay, so this will be the, yes, so this is completely the esophagus, okay, so this will be the esophagus, and this region is the pharynx and trachea region, and this region is called as the esophagus, okay. So completely the pharynx is common passage for food and air. So once if you see, yes, yes students, yes, so to understand the concept you need to look about it perfectly, okay. So here, yes, so here during the passage of the food, right. So now look into this particular slide, I am going to explain you what happens actually when we are going to eat the food, okay. So everyone, yes, whenever the pharynx will be the common passage for food and air, but here can you see this junction, my dear students, the region, okay, so this is called as epiglottis, okay, what it is usually called, epiglottis, okay. So the epiglottis is just a flap like structure, okay, the epiglottis is a flap like opening which is present at the region of the trachea, okay, at the region of the trachea what we can find a flap like opening that is called as the epiglottis, okay. So whenever we are going to eat the food, okay, yes, so from this oral cavity the food gets, okay, the food reaches to the oropharynx, so this will be the pharynx region, right. So when we are going to inhale the oxygen, it is going to reach to the nasopharynx, but when we are going to eat the food, from the oral cavity it reaches to the oropharynx. So from the oropharynx it reaches to the esophagus, right. So this will be the usually esophagus. So what happens during this process in the sense, so here the trachea gets closed, okay. So the trachea is going to be closed, okay. So the trachea is going to be closed by the epiglottis, can you see. So here the epiglottis has been closed, okay. When we are going to eat, the epiglottis immediately closes. Due to this closing nature, the food immediately enters into the esophagus, right. So if there is no esophagus, if there is no epiglottis, what happens, instead of traveling, instead of reaching the food to the esophagus, it is going to enter into the trachea, right my dear students. So the pharynx will be the common passage for the food and air, but during when we are going to eat, the epiglottis is a common flap like structure which is present and which is situated at the region of the trachea. When we are going to eat the food, immediately the epiglottis is going to close the trachea, immediately it closes the trachea, hence the food reaches the esophagus, okay. But when we are going to breathe, okay, when we are going to breathe, what happens my dear students, it is going to open, okay, instead of, okay. So apart from eating, okay, when we are not eating, usually when we are going to breathe, the epiglottis is going to open and the oxygen whatever we are inhaling from the pharynx it reaches the trachea. So clear my dear students, this is about the mechanism, okay, how actually the epiglottis is present, okay, how actually the pharynx is going to be involved in common passage for food and air. When we eat the food, the epiglottis closes the tracheal region, easily the food is going to enter into the esophagus, right. But in the normal conditions, usually we inhale the oxygen and it directly transfers, it is going to transfer from the nasopharynx to the trachea, clear? Yes. So if you want, once again have a look on this, by that, see, the food is going to enter, immediately here the epiglottis closes the trachea and it enters into the esophagus, yes. So now we will understand what is larynx, okay. What is larynx my dear students? So the larynx does not have any role in the respiration, but in the respiratory tract the larynx is a part which is involved in the production of the sound, but it is not involved in the, it is not involved in the respiration process actually, but it is a part which is involved in the production of the sound, yes. Look here, larynx is a cartilaginous box, okay. What it is? It is a cartilaginous box that helps in sound production my dear students, okay. So it is usually does not have and it is usually does not help in the respiration process, but it is involved in the sound production. And next one, it is present over the tip of the trachea. Okay. At the tip of the trachea we have found the larynx, that is called as laryngopharynx, and next one it opens into laryngopharynx, right, and in birds due to the presence of the larynx, okay, actually the larynx is the sound producing organ, we are also going to call it as the voice box. Okay. So, usually the larynx is going to have two vocal cords, okay, which will vibrate whenever they are going to receive the sound. Okay. So, about this there is no more role in the respiration, but they are involved in these respiratory tract which are just meant for sound producing, my dear students. Okay. No role in the respiration, but in some, okay, but in the birds due to the, instead of presence of the larynx, they have another organ for the production of the sound, that is called as syrinx. Okay. Syrinx in birds. Okay. So, the larynx, the vocal cords gets vibrated whenever they are going to receive the, whenever we are going to produce the sound. Yes. Yes, students. So, this is all about the, yes. So, this is all about nasal chambers, nostrils, and the next one nasal conchae, and the next one is pharynx. Okay. Yes. So, in the next upcoming live session we are going to discuss about the most important few more human respiratory organs, okay, that is nothing but the alveoli, trachea, bronchi and bronchioles. Okay. We are going to see all these organs in detail, we are going to study about its anatomical view in the next upcoming live session. Okay. So, once again all the students just revise the lectures, enjoy the lectures and understand the concept. Meet you in the next upcoming live session. Hope this session is useful to all of you, and if you have any doubts, please let me know in the comment section. Yes, like, share and subscribe to NEET World.